All right, welcome back to this edition of UBV News. I want to touch on another current topic going on, and that's with Dr. Umar Johnson. He recently came out and confirmed that the FDMG school that he purchased is currently getting ready to go up for foreclosure auction from the local municipality. Dr. Umar is a very unique individual, and just this whole situation, Matt, from his bank accounts being froze to now the school is getting ready to be foreclosed upon and auctioned off. I mean, what's your thoughts on this, man?
Honestly, I think it's an unfortunate situation. If you would have asked me this like a few years ago, I would have been like, "Man, that dude's a scammer." Blah 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 blah. I don't really know. I don't see him as much of a scammer now as I used to. I mean, you had Jay Morrison. I don't think he's on that level. I think what it is that I think he's used to just talking. He starts talking and people get excited, and he really didn't have the know-how, the skill set to build a school. And then also, I think how much money did he raise? Was it $2.5 million or something like that? How
Yeah,
much?
it was in the millions for
Yeah,
sure.
that's not enough money to start no school. It's one. It's a good way to have one hell of a life for a few years, but it's definitely not no way to start a school. So I think he was in over his head to begin with. And I think it's just another case of somebody talking, the community getting excited, and just giving a lot of money to somebody who talks a lot, but with no background skill set or expertise in the topic that they're talking about. So that's my take. What's your take?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I kind of get where you're saying where it's not he's not necessarily considered a scammer because at this point I feel like anybody who sends him money and and follows him at this point is just willingly giving him to him. I think it's blatantly obvious that that school is not opening. I think for a few years it's been obvious that that school is not opening. So if you are giving him money for this, to me you're a willful participant. And again, I don't see it as being a scam either. With that being said, from a morality standpoint, I think it's horrible because I think he has people who he's, I guess you could say in a sense, brainwashed to follow him and is still giving him money in these situations. And this whole story is just a bunch of crap, to be honest with you. He's saying that, his personal accounts and the FDMG accounts are frozen. Usually that means there's something coming down regarding some wire fraud that the feds are probably going to be hitting them on very shortly. And with the whole auction of the school thing, that was definitely some garbage when he came out and said, I never received any notifications, this, and that. Every municipality, particularly when it comes to fines, taxes, and everything, usually gives you at least a 2 year leadway as far as being delinquent on taxes, fees, blight tickets, or whatever. So this isn't something that he just found out about. He's saying that he just saw the notice going to his school on August 5th. I think that's a bunch of crap because ultimately, wherever the taxes are being sent to be paid, those are the same place those notices are going. And for him to say he doesn't receive any tells me that he may not have been. The only way he can say that is if he hasn't been paying taxes and it was a tax foreclosure. And obviously, that's not the case because uh, it's a vacant fee that's being charged by the local municipality. The guy's just he's morally wrong and he's trying to not take accountability for his financial ruins of the situation.
I see this all the time, man, with these type of guys, man. And I just think, if he just went in front of the people and said, "Hey, you know what? I wanted to build this school. I wanted to build the Marcus Garvey, Frederick Douglass, Malcolm X, Pan Africanism, school for Black African descent boys. Um, you know, um, I would have needed more help than what I actually thought, and I fucked up." They can't say that. They got to keep it going. So I actually, like I said, I don't think he's as much of a scam. I just think he's in over his head, and they got a lot of pride and a lot of damn ego. So I think if he said, "Hey, you know what? I was in over my head. It cost too much. I thought the $2.5 million would be good. You really need like 20, $30 million," and just kind of talk to the people and say, "Hey, this stuff is a lot harder than I thought." It actually could open up a bigger discussion about what does it really take to educate our kids. But I think their egos is getting in the way.
Well, here's the thing. I know Lord Jamar a few years ago offered to get him connected with people who are actually running schools. He did. I mean, I'm not justifying Lord Jamar being some type of savior, but if he says if he knows somebody who's running a school, um, and he says, "Hey, I can get you in touch with these people to tell you what you need to do," why not take him up on it? He always talks about how he holds Jalen Rose in high regard. Jalen Rose has been running the school for years. Why not give him a call? Now, granted, I know it's a charter school and he's not trying to do the charter route, but he can at least be able to talk to some people who run schools and build schools to understand what the operation costs are. How you're going to have to pay employees. How you have to pay maintenance and stuff, and understand the full scope of it. So I'm not really going to let him off the hook on that. I think that ultimately, for him to do what you said, he's going to have to justify where that money went. And people are going to say, okay, well, if you knew you're over in your head, show us the receipts of where you were spending the money on the school, where every dime that was being donated was going to this. And he's not going to be able to do that. And that's why he's not going to come out and say that, because people are going to know, okay, well, maybe you did get in a little bit over your head. Why don't you give us a breakdown of what you spent that money on, so we may be able to find ways to be better, but that's going to expose some things. And another thing with him talking about he never received a notice from the local municipality before they foreclosed on him. Again, that's a bunch of garbage. And if that really did happen, all he needs to do is go and request what's known as a Freedom of Information Act from the local municipality, because anytime they foreclose on a property, they are required by law to give you specific notices. And these are public records, so he doesn't have to go down there. Anybody can go down to that city and get a Freedom of Information Act from that local city to see what notices that they sent out and received. And if they didn't send out the proper notices, he has a case on his hand. But we'll see where that goes if that's the case, because if they really didn't send him the notices, all he needs to do is go down and get that Freedom of Information Act to verify that. And then ultimately, he's going to be in the clear. But I seriously, seriously doubt that is going to happen.
But let me just say this last thing. I mean, let's be honest. I think a lot of people was talking shit about the school and a lot of the things that he did with the money. I think people in the community kind of understood that, like, hey, this guy is not a serious guy in terms of building things. But I do think that people tended to agree with him on some of the different things he said. And also, I think, especially in the Black Manosphere world, in that world, he got a lot more, like, support over the last few years, because he was really kind of talking about, like, dating. He started talking about those type of things. So I think a lot of times, I think people kind of said, hey, we kind of agree in theory to some of the stuff that he says. That's how I think he got, like, I think still a lot of support from the community. I think people just kind of looked at him as not serious in terms of building a school.
No, I agree with that. I mean, I think there's a lot of stuff that he says that I definitely agree with. I'm not saying he's just a complete out fraud just as a person overall. What I'm just referring to is this whole school situation and how he's milking it.
No, I get that part. I'm just saying that, like, I think it's just him saving face at this point. I think that, and they all do this, man. We got presidents who do this. He's saving face. Now, is it a good thing? No, not at all. But he's just saving face, bro. Because he doesn't want to be seen as incompetent. I don't think he realizes that other people see him as incompetent, but we do, So that's all I was willing to say, and that's kind of the last point I have with that.
Well, I mean, I think it comes down to, do you see him as incompetent or do you see him as a scammer? Some people may see him as incompetent. Some of us, and I'm not gonna say he's a scammer overall, because, like I said, there is a lot of stuff that he says that I agree with, particularly pertaining to our people. But with this school situation in particular, I think he's scamming it, and I think he's trying to milk it for the people that's loyal to him. And like I said, I can't really even feel sorry for the people that's still sending him money, because if you don't realize at this point that school was never going to open, then ultimately you get what you deserve at that point if you can't see that. But we do want to hear from you. Make sure you comment below. What's your whole thoughts on Dr. Umar's whole situation, particularly with this school? Do you think he's scamming? Do you think he is giving a true effort and just happened to fall short and because of lack of incompetence, or because of incompetency, or a lack of knowledge on what it takes to run a school? And why is that the case for either one? So go ahead and make sure you comment below. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel as we continue to grow. We definitely appreciate all the support. And we are UBV News, and we are out.